A three-day national mourning began today with flags flying half-mast as the whole country came to terms with the horror of last Wednesday's double tragedy in which over 150 people lost their lives. As the blame game continues and as some authorities take knee-jerk reactions to demolish properties they claim are in waterways, the fact remains we've got a major problem on our hand. How ready are our emergency response systems? How are we helping those traumatized by this ordeal? What is the pattern of relief distribution? And must we be taking weather forecast a little more serious? This is today's big story. Wednesday, June 3rd, has been described as Black Wednesday, as one of the worst days in Ghana's history. Over 150 people lost their lives through a fire explosion and flood. Here at Joy News, we've told the story from many angles as we mourn these citizens. Let's recap some of the angles we covered this story.
Frank Agude is a taxi driver, and he was here the night this whole thing happened, and he's going to help us get a picture of how it all happened and how it all started. So Frank, tell me, how did it all start? Where were you on the night? Where exactly were you on the night?
Oh, that moment in the
Tell me exactly where you were standing.
One line.
So you mean from this side? You can't show exactly where it's at. And what was the rice seller here doing?
Plastic chair.
As you can see,
this story was aired on Joy News a day after the event. Now, on that day, our reporter Fred Smith spoke to some rescuers. Let's watch how the story unfolded.
Almost 48 hours since the fire outbreak at the Guel filling station at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle. Whilst investigations by the fire service and forensic teams continue, Joy News would like to understand how this whole incident occurred. And we have a young man who was here when the whole incident occurred. Good afternoon to you. What's your name?
Fee.
Your Fee. Do you live around?
Yeah.
You live here?
Yeah.
Point to your house. Let me see.
Okay. I'm here.
Okay, that's a direction towards the Methodist Church.
Yeah. I live down there.
Down there, close to it. So where were you when the fire incident occurred?
When we were around...
there's a pharmacy shop there.
Yeah, the back of the pharmacy.
That's where you were?
Yeah. So we were coming to look for someone over there.
At the pharmacy shop.
And when we see this thing, we saw the assemblyman coming. So he said there is a fire at Circle. The only thing you see now, boom, explode. First one and second one.
At where? The explosion started where?
At the filling station.
So it started from the loom here and spread to the filling station.
Behind the loom. The back.
From behind the loom.
The back. The fire started from the back. Before explode at the filling station. So when the thing happened, some people wanted to come out, but they can't.
Where were they trapped?
Some people are inside the shop, others too are around.
They were inside these shops here.
And some too are around, and the fire is on the top of the water, so nobody can come until you know how to swim.
So how much of flooding did you experience here? About what height?
From up to here.
About this height.
Yeah.
I see. And there was
A fire
fuel on it, and the fire was burning. And so nobody could move through it.
Even the fire service, they can't come. When they come, then they will return. They just did their best to come, but they cannot do it.
So how did it spread from all the way here to the filling station?
Strike into the water. I can see that maybe there will be a fault on the on the whole of the there. If I don't know, there is a fault on the tank also.
It's very traumatizing for some of these survivors. We'll be looking to speak to some of our own reporters. Elton John Brobe was our man who was in the thick of affairs when this story broke, and we'll be talking to him to tell us the ordeal he went through and the trauma he's still undergoing. Actually, we'll be speaking to a clinical psychologist also to give us a fair idea of how to help people like Elton who have been in the thick of the reporting. Let's get onto the telephone lines now and speak to Chief Meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Services Department, Michael Paddy. He's joining us on the telephone line now. Mr. Paddy, good evening. I know that when this disaster occurred, there are many of us Ghanaians who now began to fix blames. There are those who said that the meteorological services didn't give an accurate forecast, and there are those who say that the forecast was giving, but citizens' response to this forecast was lagging behind. And from where you stand, do you feel that the meteorological services should be taking some blame, or you feel that this is a natural disaster which was bound to happen anyway?
Well, to me, it's a natural disaster. Let's put it some way. But on the part of the meteorological agency, Meteo has done very well in terms of informing the public through the media that a storm is going to affect the southern sector and the coast as well. So, well, the information, maybe some people might not have heard of it. Maybe those included in the incident might not have heard of it, or maybe they've taken some ignorance to the forecast that is made.
So it means that, if you understand you correctly, it means on that day, Wednesday, June 3rd, the meteorological services had given an accurate forecast?
Yes, we did.
Can you tell us exactly what the forecast entailed and how you communicated that to members of the public? We just want to get a fair understanding of how things went, and then perhaps in future citizens can respond appropriately so we can avoid some of these disasters. On the Wednesday around 5 p.m., weather warning was issued that a moderate rain belt observed over parts of the southern half of the country and over the sea is expected to spread and affect other places from now, that is 5 p.m. till midnight. So, in fact, the meteorological agency had predicted very well, and I'm sure this is what happened exactly. I see. Interesting. And I mean, we visited the meteorological services agencies, and we do know that you do have some equipment, you don't have others, and we also know that you still resort to very old methods of forecasting, including sometimes you have to do handwritten drawings and all of those. Are you well equipped to do the job that Ghanaians expect you to do?
Yes. We are not using old methods in making our forecast. Let the public know that. We are not using old methods. We do analyze charts, which is not an old method of looking at weather. We just try to look at the system critically in order to come out with forecasts. What we do here, we use colors. which has meaning. So just a glance at the chart that we analyze, one can come out with very good prediction without any wasting of time.
I see. So
that's exactly what we do here. We don't use
old methods. Okay, that's fair. I mean, to say that you don't use old systems. But what are your weaknesses and what are your strengths? I mean, as far as I know, there are many who may expect the meteorological services to be prompt with forecasts, and I don't know, but you are in the field. What are some of the challenges you face in doing your job, and how can Ghanaians help you or government help you to ensure that you do your work better?
Well, most of the products or equipment that's needed in making forecasts these days is the internet. So if one has the internet and you are able to know the website or how to get connections with the satellite, then I think you are a bit, or you are well equipped. Other equipment like the radar and other things are also there, but they are secondary matters. For nowcasting, which is forecasting of making short-term predictions, it mainly relies on the internet, which we have, and that is why we were able to predict that there is going to be a storm.
Right, Mr. Paddy, we're grateful for your time. We have to move on, I'm afraid, with the discussion. Thanks very much. We don't want it to look like we're putting blame on the meteorological services, but Ghanaians expect a little more accuracy in these forecasts. We've had a couple of occasions where the forecasts were not exactly accurate, and we were told that the storms terminated in the sea and we didn't see them inland. But we're continuing. Let's get onto the telephone lines now and speak to Richard Mensah, who is a news editor with City FM. Richard covered the flood and the fire disaster on that fateful Wednesday. Richard Mensah, great to have you.
Great to be on here too.
I know today is a very sad day for all of us, especially journalists who covered this traumatic, I could say very horrible disaster. Tell me your first-hand experience as you encountered the flood and the fire, and especially the victims, dead people scattered all around.
Well, like you aptly described it, it was a disaster of unimaginable levels, and for some of us, those of us who covered it, it's more traumatizing to have witnessed it, and especially in my particular instance, and because I got there before the whole fire escalated, even before fire service and all the others got onto the scene. In fact, I had to make the call on air because we were covering it, and this is how I got close to it, because first, when we heard it, the indication was that the bank was on fire, and I was near, so I just saw the black smoke billowing, so I had to forcibly run, and then I got stuck, and I just, our place, so the back there was flooded, so I had to brace through the flooding and then go, because I didn't want to go on air and be saying that I'm not sure where it is. So upon getting to the place around the Samsung area, I had to go through the water to be sure that this was what was happening. Now, the terrifying moment was when I was trying to observe it. At that time, it was just thick black smoke. Then all of a sudden, there was just one explosive boom, and then the whole place just got into flame. Now, this is how horrifying it was.
I can imagine.
I was standing there. I could hear people shout, crying for help, and nobody could get to them.
Right,
nobody.
Richard. Let's hear you.
And even those who in the initial, I saw people bent and were being taken. And those in the initial stages who escaped, it was not because somebody braved the waters to get them out. But when you get close to where we are, which was a very safe area, then we can hold your hand. So here I was reporting, and then all of a sudden somebody hit me. I thought it was going to be somebody to give me information, because at that time, people were giving me information about their colleagues in there, then here is somebody turning on to me, bent, and he says, help me.
Help me.
At that moment.
Very traumatic. Richard, we're grateful. We'll have to move on with our discussions. Richard Mensah is a journalist with City FM in Accra, and he's also being in the heart of the coverage of the Wednesday's double tragedy. We'll be bringing in to our studios Elton John Brobe, our own reporter, who was also in the heat of affairs when this was unfolding. But a few days after the incidents, we spoke to some survivors about the challenges they face with relief. I know the relief has been one of the big issues now, but let's recap some of the issues that we face with distribution of relief.
We need right now is food and water. That's what we need, because people are just hungry. If you have something, you have to share with your friend, because there is no water. So far, if you buy small 2 sachets of water, you have to give the one to another person, and we cannot do anything without water and food. We are just pleading to the authorities that are those who are helping us, not more, that we are pleading on, like we are just pleading with them that they should give us food and water.
We need food too, because a lot of things are spoiled. So people's there's this ATM card is not working, and a lot of light off. So at least we need light around here, because of the darkness. You can give us this thing, because maybe when something is coming out from or any danger, where we can't find anywhere to pass, so we need a small light.
So now that as of now it's night, so I think because it's night, this is okay. But maybe tomorrow they might come and give us food. So we are hoping that things will improve. Okay.
Right, so you heard some of the victims complaining about relief reaching them or not reaching them. We do have many of them more who spoke to us, so let's take a watch and then we'll return.
We are giving them mattresses, blankets, mosquito nets, what do you call it, coil soup, basins, washing basins.
A lot of these residents that I've been speaking to are raising concerns about needing food and water. How are they going to get these items?
Yes, we appreciate that. In fact, we are also concerned, and we started making arrangements since morning. And you see, it's not only this place, but the whole Osokloti. And this morning we arranged for what do you call it? Some tankers from our headquarters to get to the communities. Certainly tomorrow it will get to their 10.
So hopefully tomorrow these residents will be receiving water and food. Is that what you are saying?
Yes. As for the food, we are just sending the information. So we are hoping that as we've got the sense for them today, food too will follow, water too will follow, then we ameliorate their conditions.
Right, a very sad situation. We're recapping some of the angles we covered, how we covered this trauma, and we'll be bringing in Elton John Brobe, who is our man who covered, who was in the heat of the event as it unfolded. We'll take a break here, and I must remind you that we've started 3 days of national mourning in honor of the over 150 people who lost their life in on Black Wednesday, what has been described as Black Wednesday, one of the most terrible disasters ever in the history of Ghana. We'll be right back. Right, I think our reporter Elton John Brobe is unable to join us in the studio because he had to cover some other important function also. So he's joining us on the telephone lines now. Elton, good evening.
Yes, good evening, Tigo.
Good, and we also have Notedua, who is a clinical psychologist, on the other line. Notedua, good evening.
Good evening, Steve.
Great.
Sorry, I couldn't make it to the studio.
No, that's okay. Thanks very much. Anyway, that you could join us on phone. Elton, quickly, I know that you were in the center of this as the story unfolded, and you, you encountered a lot, hundreds of those who lost their lives. Tell me, a few days on, almost a week, how do you feel? Are you able to cope going over your daily activities without thinking about that fateful day?
Well, let me just say that I'm still recovering from what I saw. It is constantly playing in my head, and it has affected my sleeping pattern. You go to sleep with this fear of dreaming about dead bodies, and I think I've had 2 or 3 dreams about that. Sometimes I'm awakening in the middle of the night and I'm unable to sleep again. And so I'm seeking help so that I can overcome this. It has affected me. Even eating has become an issue. I think for the first Thursday and Friday, I could only live on biscuits and something, because anytime I get close to meal with meat, I'm reminded of what I saw, and I'm unable to continue. It hasn't really been an easy task. It really has been difficult.
Elton, quickly, we don't have a lot of time, but can you tell me one story that really knocked you out, that actually made you so helpless, which is leading to the feelings you have today?
Exactly. After the fire service personnel had put out the fire, and I got closer, and I was walking closer to the oil filling station, and I got to a stage where I was walking on something soft, and I looked beneath my feet and I found out that I was actually standing on a dead body.
Oh my God.
That is always playing in my head, and it's really difficult overcoming that.
Oh my God. Elton, we'll have you hold. Let's speak to Note Dua, who is a clinical psychologist. Note Dua, I know that Elton is just one of the many reporters and journalists and firemen and ordinary citizens who had gone to the rescue of these people, even children whose family members were declared dead, and they possibly may have witnessed this. So how do you describe what is happening to Elton and a lot more of people like him?
Well, Steve, this is a sad, should I say, traumatic, experience for the country, whether you were there physically or even hearing this on the news. I mean, and for those who were directly at the epicenter, you can't even get the words to describe what they're going through. But where you witness things that really, bring you to the realization that human life is so, I don't know how to put it, but you're so mortal, and that people could just, die like flies, and that is pretty damaging to the human psyche, because the value of human life is brought almost to naught, and people start to wonder, and therefore they become hyper vigilant. This could have been me. This could happen at any time, and therefore the psyche raises the level of vigilance. Little noises can startle you. You have flashbacks of the things you saw and heard and smelt. And so it is pretty challenging for the human mind to contend with. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people out there who are not receiving any help and are trying to piece their lives together and keep themselves sane whilst grappling with survival. So this is a very serious scenario we're dealing with.
So what kind of help do people like him need?
Well, first there needs to be, he has insight. He understands that some of these things are not the regular him, the regular Elton, and he can actually point to a reference incident. So there's a lot of his system which is already doing its own corrective things at its own pace. Now, because each and every one of us has to contend with the daily routine of life, we can't allow some of these people to go at it at their own pace, and we do sometimes find that we need to intervene to help normalize their body systems and their mental functioning and all these kinds of things. And we are actually mobilizing a mental health response to start dealing with these things, helping traumatize people, helping people come to terms with what has happened, whilst also contending with the daily rigors of life as it is in the shambles that is what used to be their homes. So we are programming a mental health response, giving them the basics, water, food, and other things is helpful, but we also have to try to normalize their mental functioning as well.
Notedua, we're grateful for your time on today's Big Story. Thanks very much. Notedua is a clinical psychologist who works with us here at the Multimedia Group, is host of the Ultimate Health. And Elton, I need to wrap up with you. I think I lost Elton. Is Elton on? Elton? Right. Elton, we don't have Elton on. So that's where we'll draw the curtains. Today, we took a flashback at events that happened on Wednesday, June 3rd, in which about 150 or more of our citizens lost their lives. And we've been putting some perspectives to it. We do hope that within the next 3 days, in which we mourn, we can have a better understanding of what happened, how to ensure that it won't happen again in our history, and how we can get help to those traumatized by this event. My name is Stephen NT, and thanks for staying. We'll be right back with Joy News Interactive. Do stay.